So, you want to be a crafter and you realize that your crafting skills aren't too fly. Well, lucky for you because you're in the right place for your Starfield crafting guide, where I'm going to be showing you the ins and outs of crafting and allowing you to become that master crafter like this guy over here. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a Nuka-Cola Quantum and let's jump straight into this. Now the first thing I'd like to touch on are the crafting benches and what they do. First bench that we have is called the Industrial Workbench. This is going to cost you the resources of 3 iron and 4 aluminium. What this workbench allows you to do is to create structural resources that are going to be used universally across all crafting sections. Enough for me to say it's quite essential to have this to start your crafting journeys. The second bench that we have is called the Cooking Station. This is going to cost 3 alkalines, 4 iron and 3 copper. And as you can guess, this is going to allow you to craft your food and your drinks, letting you become that master chef. The third bench that we have is the Pharmaceutical Lab. This is going to cost 4 chlorine, 3 iron, 4 aluminium, and 3 benzene. This is where you're going to be brewing up your medicals such as your antibiotics, bandages, and heal paste, which are your treatments, and also your enhancers such as your amps, which give you those buffs. For your fourth bench, we have your weapon crafting station. This is going to cost 4 iron, 2 nickel, 3 adhesive, and 3 sealant. And as you can guess again, this is where you're going to be doing your weapon modifications. And for the fifth bench, we have the spacesuit crafting station. This is going to cost 3 fiber, 4 cosmetic, and 4 aluminium. And as you can guess again, this is going to allow you to put modifications on all your spacesuits, your helmets, and also your packs. And just when you thought it was over, we have one more, which is your research lab. This is going to cost 2 beryllium, 4 aluminium, and 2 copper. Now a note to take in is the fact that the research lab is going to be a very important piece to your crafting progression. This is going to allow you to craft new recipes throughout all the different versions of crafting. Now, if you don't have enough resources to build these crafting benches, there is an alternative. If you head to the lodge, which is the main headquarters for Constellation, when you enter the building, you're going to notice a door on the right. And if you keep following the stairs down, you're going to come into a room that has all the crafting necessities that you need. And just like that, you're ready to start crafting. Now, before we move on, I'd like to give you some tips about storing your resources. And Ripley's, believe it or not, there may be a box that allows you to store infinite resources. So for basic storage, this will cost you 2 aluminium and 4 structural. But what you can do if there's one storage crate is to create an output link which is going to connect all your storages together, which makes maintaining your resources very easy. But honestly, who really cares about that when you can have infinite resources in one box? And how do you get that, you ask? Well, by simply heading back to Jemisin's to the lodge where all the crafting tables are, and right next to the research lab, you're going to find a storage box. And as you can see, when you open up the storage box, it has no mass limit whatsoever. Which really makes me ask the question, is it worth having crafting at your outposts, where if you go to Jemisin's to the lodge, you have an infinite resource storage and all the crafting you need for free? And in saying that, this takes me to the next part of your limitations, with the first one being inside the research laboratory. And what you're going to notice is as we skim through a couple of the research projects, we're going to find that required skills are necessary to go to the next step. For example here, when we look at the research projects for the helmet, you're going to notice that we're going to need the spacesuit design rank 1. And then further on, when we go into the weapons, we're going to see that we also need weapon engineering rank 2 and also weapon engineering rank 3. With these required skills being a constant for all the later research projects for each individual variation. But not only that, there's also going to be required materials that you need to complete the project, with it annoyingly notifying us as well when we have the available materials. Now, once we finish researching the projects, we're going to go to the associated workbench and find that we've unlocked more parts to add as modifications. For an example being with our weapons, we're going to head to the barrel components and we're going to notice now that we have the stabilizing barrel that we're able to install. All purely based on the fact that we researched barrel mods 2 in the research lab. And yet again, this is a constant throughout all the different forms of crafting. Hence why the research lab is such a key component to your crafting. But not only that, the skills are too, which leads me on to identifying whereabouts each of the crafting skills sit in the skill trees. In the science tree, we have 5 out of the 6 skills that we're going to need for crafting, with a very notable one being research methods. Get this skill as soon as possible because it's going to reduce the amount of resources you need in your research lab and crafting by 10%. And as you go through the ranks, you're going to be hitting a maximum of 60% reduction for resource cost. And with it being a tier 1 skill, it's very accessible early game. Now for the skills that relate to the benches. You have spacesuit design, which is going to allow you to craft improved spacesuit, helmet, and pack mods. Weapon engineering, which is going to allow you to craft improved weapon mods such as your barrels, your grips, and your sights. Special projects, which is going to allow you to research experimental projects at the research lab and also craft manufacturing components. And for the last skill in the science tree, we have chemistry, which is going to allow you to craft improved chems at the pharmaceutical lab workbench. Now, since weapon engineering and spacesuit design are both tier 2 skills, you're going to need to have at least 4 points allocated in the tier 1 slots for you to be able to access them. And this goes for the chemistry skill as well. Since it's a tier 3 skill, we're going to need to have at least 8 skill points allocated in the tier 1 and tier 2 skill slots for you to access it. As we move along to the social tree, this is where we're going to be finding our last crafting skill, which is called gastronomy, which is a skill that relates back to the cooking bench and going to allow you to craft better food and better drinks. And since it's a tier 1 skill, it's also very accessible early on in the game. And do keep in mind that ranking these skills up is going to be costing a lot of resources. With chemistry alone, you're going to be needing to craft at least 85 chems for you to reach the max rank. And when we relate that back to one of the craftables such as your antibiotics, we're looking at 85 membrane and 85 antimicrobials just to get to that point. But if you are looking for certain resources for a mod, you're able to track the mod itself, which is going to present this little blue microscope next to the resource, which is going to help highlight the resource when you're out scavenging. But if you're not the adventurous type, you can always just go to general stores on planets and purchase resources too. And when we're looking at hitting max rank for the other crafting skills, we're looking at 50 spacesuit mods created for spacesuit design, 50 weapon mods crafted for weapon engineering, and 80 food or drink items created for gastronomy, which makes the point of why research methods is highly needed. And for you to reach max rank in it, you're going to need to craft 30 unique food, drinks, drugs, weapons, and equipment mods. Now, a good system to start collecting your resources early on is Procyon. This can be found just above the Alpha Centauri system. And the beauty of this system is it gives you the early materials that you need to get you started, especially if you're looking at creating an automated resource gathering system. If you are, check the link up the top. It will help you out a lot. And also, before you land on the planet, don't forget to scan for resources. This is going to be showing you the material map, and the bonus thing about this is you're going to be able to choose where you're going to be landing your ship, and it's always going to be close by to resources that you need. It's like stealing candy from a baby essentially. Yeah, don't quote me on that. Here's a little tip for you while you are mining the mineral resources. As you see here, we're mining as per usual, taking roughly around 4 seconds to break the node. But what if I told you I can cut that down by more than half? By simply holding the aim button, you're going to notice the 3 prongs getting closer to the crosshair. Once it hits the center, press fire and poof, you're collecting your minerals like a madman. And there you have it, you're practically a crafting god now, all thanks to a random voice that you watched on the internet. But seriously, thanks so much for stopping by and watching the video. It means the world to me. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also leave a like. I'd also like to know as well, what other guides would you like to see on Starfield? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and until the next one, buckle in boys, because we're going to space.